Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well, and welcome back to Voicenotes with Jordan Theresa. I know! I'm back. I went on hiatus for a sec. No particular reason other than I was doing my video essay thing, and, with the podcast, I love doing it, but I think I wanted a bit more of a clear vision, and it honestly, at no point did I stop enjoying it. It was more that I just didn't make any episodes. I think that I have loved doing this for so long, and for the first time in a really long time, I have a very clear vision of what I want to do with it now. But I do just want to thank everybody who's messaged asking for a new episode. I know that it's been so long, but thank you all for being so patient. I knew it was going to come back. And you know what, guys? You know what's so crazy? I had to film this. This is the third time of me filming this intro, and I had a panic where I was like, oh my God, like I've lost it. I've been out the game for too long, and now I can't podcast anymore. But I think I'm doing okay so far. I've literally been speaking for 3 minutes. We are joined with Bootsy. I need to ask you guys a genuine question. And that is, can someone give me advice for a really naughty cat? We all know how much I love Boots here. We all know how much I love Boots. She is so naughty. Like, I actually don't know what has gotten into her recently. She's always been a little bit crazy, a little bit boisterous. And she's always gotten zoomies, and I've always told her she's going to grow out of it, right? And the thing is, like, I'm not even that fussed about her growing out of, like, being hyper, because I think it's really cute. But, it's the hyperness is now turning into naughtiness. And what I mean by that is that she refuses to let me sleep in this room on my own. She jumps up and scratches the door. I have child locks on the door, and it's gotten to the point now where, like, I just have to let her in. And this is the thing, she scratches because she knows that I'll let her in. She wakes me up at 2 a.m. every morning for me to feed her. Baby, that's not even breakfast. That's a midnight snack. That's a midnight feast. And essentially, I just have a really, really naughty cat, and I don't know what to do. Like, it's getting to the point where I'm, like, considering getting a cat trainer. And I want to make it clear that she's not naughty in the way where she's aggressive or vicious. Not at all. Like, when I say she's naughty, she's just naughty. Like, she's a naughty, naughty kitty. And I just don't really know what to do, because my fear is? My fear is that the issue is that she wants to go outside, and I want to make it very clear, I want to let her outside. I want her to go outside, but I'm so scared of something happening to her. And, like, if something did, I would never be able to forgive myself. That I just don't really know what to do, because a part of me worries that she sort of is a little crazy and acts out because she's not happy. And that breaks my heart, thinking about Boots not being happy. Sorry, this is really, really stupid. But that is my first life update, is that my cat, since you guys have spoken to me, my cat has gotten extremely naughty. And please do not suggest for me to get her a sibling, because that is a terrible idea. But I'm so scared to let her out. So I'm going to perhaps consult a cat trainer, and we shall see. But that is the first life update, that my cat is crazy. And I'm trying to think, see, you know how you know that life has been peaceful? My life has been peaceful up until this week. No, shit things have happened this week, but my life has been fairly peaceful. And you can tell because I don't have that many life updates. Like, I've moved. This is me in my bedroom. I will say, you guys the camera is pointed at a particularly unremarkable part of my bedroom. I recently got this bedside table, which I did not consider. So I've got a very low bed. I've got a bed, it's from made.com, right? And one thing about me, I hate bedside tables. I think that bedside tables are hideous. And the ones that aren't hideous are so expensive. So there was only ever one bedside table that I wanted to get, and it matched this bed from made.com. Guess how much this bedside table was? I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds to guess how much this bedside table was. It was £400. It was over £400. What? For a table that I can't even eat food off of? No fucking way. So, but the thing is, I've known that I need to get a bedside table for ages, because I'm not even joking when I say I used to sleep next to a pile of live electricals. Like, I remember I had someone over and he like looked at the side of my bed and went, "What the fuck?" Like, especially because it was the side that like he was gonna sleep on. I was like, "Oh, sucks to be you." But you know, like I like sleep next to this pile of live electricals every night, and I realized that, you know, something's got to change. So I need to find a bedside table that I can store all these plugs and wires into, and also put my lamp on, and also, I mean, I was going to store my electric blanket in it, but I just put my electric blanket somewhere else. Guys, it's no longer electric blanket season. Like, obviously I'm happy that the sun is coming out, but like, rest in peace to electric blanket season. You will be missed. One thing about me though, I'm not complaining that electric blanket season is over, because I could not watch a single TV show in the winter. You know how I used to watch a TV show? I used to get into bed, I used to put the electric blanket on, I used to put my show on, and within 5 minutes I'd fall asleep. No matter what time it was. Like, sometimes I'd be like, oh, it's the weekend, let me try and watch a TV show at like 11 a.m. I'd still fall asleep. So I'm quite glad that I cannot put my electric blanket on anymore. But yeah, no, so I need a new bedside table, and I found this one, which was still expensive, 150 quid. And I didn't look at the fucking dimensions. Guys, it's huge in comparison to my bed. You can't really see. It's really tall. And also it does just look a little bit like a medicine cabinet. Like, it's not quite the vibe, but I will say that is a better alternative than £400 from made.com. Get a grip, made.com. But, sorry, how did I get onto that? So, life updates, you're joining me in the worst corner of my room, but this is so comfy. I am trying to think of like some life updates for you guys. I'm still single. It's been I think it has been a year. No, it's been nearly a year of being single. And I do just want to say that I've spoken about being single on the podcast in a couple of episodes ago, so I'm not going to harp on for too long because I don't really feel any which way about it anymore, you know, because it's just like my life now. Like, it's not like this like new novelty thing where it's sort of like not necessarily all I think about my singleness in like a negative way, just like I was living my life in a new way. So obviously I was sort of trying to contextualize everything in my head and also contextualize it with you guys and speak to you guys about it. But yeah, no, this has been the longest that I've been single since I was 17. I've literally gone back to back long-term relationships, and I'm not going to speak on it. I spoke about it a couple of episodes ago if you guys want to know my thoughts, but if you guys do want a little episode of just like notes on being a single babe for a year, let me know. I don't really have that many notes other than, what are my notes for being a single babe? Do you want to know my biggest note? I love not sharing my bedroom with a man. Guys, the fact that everything in this bedroom, and by the way, I just want to make it clear, this is the tidy side. To be fair, my other podcast mic's on the floor over there, but this is the tidy side. Right here, it's not a complete mess, but it's not tidy. But still, the fact that this mess is all mine, it just feeds my soul. Like, the fact that everything in this room is mine, and the fact that when I leave and when I come back, it's the same. That's like the biggest takeaway I've taken from being single, is the fact that I just love having my own bedroom. Like, this is exciting. Like, I haven't had my own bedroom since I was a teenager. And even then, like, when you're teenage and like a sort of young adult bedroom when you're at your parents' house, it is still under your parents' rules. So like, it is nice that I have my own space. But oh my God, another story. So when this happened to me, I remember, first of all, this story went triple platinum on my close friends. This story went triple platinum on my close friends. And I remember when this happened to me, I was like, oh God, wish I was doing my podcast at the moment, because the girlies will love this story. So let me tell you about this story. So I would like to say I don't share like any dating stories on here. But this story does involve someone that I did date. But it doesn't really involve him at all. But also it does. But like, just so you know, this is not setting the trend. I am not going to be like spilling my dating tea or anything, because I do not want to do that. That's not what I'm about. My dating life is very private. But this is like a very funny story, and I'm sure that he like would not care about me sharing it. So basically, I had gone on a couple of dates with this guy, and I'd stayed at his for the first time. Come back, it's all fine, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I am chilling in my living room, like the evening after our date with my housemate, and I'm starting to notice like these like bumps on my body, like they're like mosquito bites. I was like, what the fuck? And I'm like touching my stomach. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, there was like a lot of bites. And I remember I started feeling them on my neck. I was like, this is really weird. So me and Jack, we go over to the mirror, we switch the hallway light on, lift my top up, and we both go like that because I was covered. Like my stomach was covered in bites, right? And so was my back. I was like, oh my God, this is bad. And I immediately start freaking out. I'm like, he's got bed bugs. The guy that I'm dating has got bed bugs. My housemate is like, no, like, so we start Googling, drawing up different like bug bite comparisons. And I will say bed bug bites, they God, fucking tongue twister, they cluster together. They were not giving bed bug bites. They were giving mosquito bites. So Jack said to me, he was like, look, it's probably just a loose mosquito in the room. Like, you're fine. I was like, all right, fine. So at this point, I wasn't feeling too great. So I go to bed and I wake up the next day and it's worse. They're on my front, my back, my neck, my ears, my face. That's when I was like, oh, this is really, really bad. Like they were all over my face. I was like, oh my God, this guy's got bed bugs, especially because the ones on my neck and my ears were all clustered together. I was like, oh my God. So then I text him and I'm like, hey, like this is about 6 a.m, by the way. I was like, hey, like I really don't want to alarm you, but I think you've got bed bugs and I think that you need to get your flat checked out. Anyway, so I go to shower and I'm literally thinking about every single thing that touched that flat that I'm going to have to hot wash in case I've tracked bed bugs back to my house. And at this point, I start like feeling something in the back of my throat. I'm like, I'm like, what the fuck? And I open my mouth and I shine a torch in there. Guys, it was a blister. I was like, oh my God, it's not bed bugs. I've got fucking chicken pox. Fun fact about me that I'm not sure whether I've shared on the pod or not. I have never had chickenpox before. I have like tried to catch chickenpox before. My mum has taken me to a chickenpox party when I was younger and I didn't catch it. My brother caught it when he was a teenager and I didn't catch it from him. My sister I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, but my sister regularly gets shingles and I've never caught chickenpox from her shingles. So I was like, what the actual fuck? And I basically had to sequester myself in my house for 7 days and it was not fun. I also had to send a very tail tucked between the legs text to the guy that I was seeing at the time saying, oh, by the way, you do not have bed bugs. I have chicken pox. Like, never mind. And my experience as an adult with chicken pox was I actually managed to get a very early prescription of this medication, which definitely helped because let me tell you, the first 2 days were so awful. I was so sick and my throat was so swollen that I had to get like one of those emergency like out of hours GP appointments. And it turns out, guys, so she like checked my throat. She was like, your throat's not swollen. These are your nodules. Your nodules? Yeah. Your nodules. Right. And she's like, basically your immune system's working overtime because you're really, really sick. So these are your nodules. And then she was like, oh, are there any like scabs or like, chickenpox blisters that you're looking at? And I was like, oh, there's like ones on the back of my head. And she went, those aren't chickenpox bumps. Those are your nodules as well. Did you know that your nodules go all the way to the back of your head? So when you're very, very sick, the back of your head will get swollen. The more you bloody know. Do you want to know something really funny? So when I had chickenpox, Jack was like, oh, you need to try and find your king spot. That's like the big one that all the other spots are born from. Which, by the way, I think that my king spot was literally in the middle of my face. I have scars from my chickenpox only on my face. I have like 2 here and 1 here. And everyone, like a lot of people have been telling me to get them lasered. But honestly, like I kind of think it looks a bit rock and roll. Like I quite like the look of like my chickenpox scars. Maybe I'm being weird. But anyways, so Jack's like, you need to find your king spot. You need to find your king spot. And it was this one on my face. But then my mum rang me and said the same thing. But my mum called it, it's called the mother spot. And I was like, oh, the mother spot. Jack was like, oh my God, you have a case of diva pox. So I will say having chicken pox at the big old age of 25 was not on my, what's that thing called? Bucket list. Was not on my 2025 Also, I'm 26, I'm not 25. It was not on my 2025 bucket list. I can tell you that for free. Overall, it wasn't that bad, but I think what was really, really hard was not being able to really leave the house because you are like contagious. That was the horrible story of me getting chickenpox as an adult. But I will say, I think some people are just like adult chickenpox coded, complimentary. Like, I think that people who get chickenpox as adults, like it's like the same as like when someone's left-handed or when someone's a twin. Like, it's like, I always wish that I was, when I was younger, I always wish that I had something unique about me, like being left-handed or having a twin. And I think that having chickenpox as an adult is like part of that family. So I'm pretty happy. And I went to therapy and I told him about it. I was like, oh my God, 'cause I've been so sick. I had chickenpox. And he went, no way, I got chickenpox when I was about 28. Nobody gets me like my therapist gets me. Nobody gets me like my therapist gets me. I wrote in my notes, what things have I written in my notes for my life updates? I keep crying at videos of the London Marathon. I don't really feel like that's a life update. To be fair, I'm a little more easy to cry at the moment because I have gone back on the pill. But like so far, I'm actually not finding the experience that bad. The last time I was on the pill, it was like 3 years ago when I was like severely mentally ill. So like I feel like I can't quite judge the pill on like the when I was unwell anyways. I think it just sort of exacerbated the issues that I already had. But the two sort of takeaways from being back on the pill, and I take the Yasmin pill, is that I'm just a bit easier to cry. Like, and I don't cry a lot. Like, I'm not like emotional or anything, but like when I see something like like videos of people doing the London Marathon, like it literally makes me fucking cry. And also, like, guys, I know that I've been saying this for a really long time, but my boobs are really big. Like, my boobs have gotten even bigger somehow by some miracle. Honestly, like, it's so stupid. But I also put in my notes goodbye to the red hair, but I got my hair done the other day. New hair tinsel just dropped. I went for pink and purple with the hair tinsel. I'm not sure whether you guys can see. I'm going to put the video version on Spotify for anyone that's listening. But I got new pink and purple hair tinsel. And to be fair, my hair's like a lot more red this time. So it's not quite goodbye to the red hair, but it is goodbye to that like vibrant red hair. I actually look back at some of the videos and I'm like, I look insane. Guys, why did nobody tell me this time last year I look like shit? Like, this is the thing, is that like, I know that if someone told me at the time that I didn't look good, I'd be like, wow, like, no, you don't know who your real friends are, blah, blah, blah. But I look back on what I looked like last year. Like, you know what it was? It was the vibrant red hair, eyebrow piercing, shit makeup combo. My makeup looked like shit last year. Like, I actually don't know. Because to be fair, not that many of the products that I've used have changed. Maybe it's the way that I dressed. I don't know. I just looked like a crazy person this time last year. Not like I should be judging the past versions of myself, because without the past versions of myself, I would not be the version of myself I am today. But yeah, so like semi said goodbye to the red hair. Maintaining that was a fucking nightmare. Also, my hair looked so dry. Also, like, how's my hair growth progress, guys? Let me turn around and so you guys can properly see. Personally, that is pretty fucking good. I will say my editor has really blown me out the water here. Editor Kath, I saw her the other day and her hair is so long and gorgeous. I'm literally so jealous. But I'm like pretty proud of how I've got my hair naturally this long. Also, I've had to go cold turkey from my straighteners because I damaged my hair again with straighteners. There's something about pin straight, slightly curved in hair. Like, you know, it's very, very 2000s. But I've had to give up the straighteners. I've had to go cold turkey with the straighteners. My hairdresser told me off. And the last life update, really, if any of you guys are interested in this, is I am on some new ADHD medication. I'm not sure whether I've actually told you guys about this, but I used to take methylphenidate, which worked really well for me for a while, but I would experience these really severe crashes. So recently I've switched onto Elvance, which I'm on 20 milligrams, and I'm really, really liking it. So it's still a stimulant, which means it sort of has the cons of a stimulant, which is that sometimes I don't struggle to get to sleep, but sometimes I struggle when I wake up in the middle of the night, or when somebody wakes me up to feed her breakfast at 2 a.m. that I like struggle to get back to sleep. Like, I mean that I will be like up for like 2 hours. But other than that, it's like, guys, it's truly a game changer. Like, it's like a lot softer than methylphenidate, but like it just works better for me, basically, and I'm really happy. And I feel like I've like fully seen the effects of how medication for my ADHD has like changed my life. It's actually like it makes me feel really sad when I think about like the version of like my past self and my younger self, and the fact that I didn't have access to these resources. Like, it's literally makes me feel so sad. But anyways, the podcast rebrand and relaunch, what's going on? So I want to run you guys through how the pod is going to be looking. So obviously to be fair, I haven't even shot it or edited it yet, but we should have some new cover art. Ooh. And this cover art sort of represents the stripping back of this podcast, you know. Before, when I made episodes, there was a lot of moving parts, right? Obviously, we have my studio, which I still have. I still work from there. But also there was like, you know, loads of different segments, and I would cover multiple topics because I love a meaty podcast episode. But something I realized is that meaty podcast episodes can't really be, at least on my own, cannot really be kept up consistently, right? And I wanted to strip things back. I wanted to start recording at home because I'm just a bit more comfortable here. Like, I love my studio, but you know, it's like in the middle of like I don't want to say in the middle of what type of area it's in the middle of, because I'm not trying to dox myself, but it's in an area which isn't always suitable for recording, as much as I adore my studio. Basically, I wanted to strip it back, record at home, and essentially every episode will obviously start out with my life updates. But obviously I do want to focus on just one sort of interesting pop culture internet topic per week. Like, there's going to be new episodes every single week, and maybe there'll be the occasional episode like my notes on being a single babe for a year, where it's like a bit more personal, but it's mostly going to be pop culture, and that's something that I'm really excited to do. It's going to be one topic, no frills, and I'm really excited to get into it. That's sort of what to expect every week. This episode's going to be a bit longer because obviously I'm doing like my little life updates at the beginning, but every episode should be around, I reckon, like 20 to 30 minutes long. So that's like, if that's okay with you guys. I'm obviously not going to change the length of the episodes if you guys don't like it. Sorry guys, it's 20 to 30 minutes, it's not changing. But yeah, no, I hope that you guys enjoy this new format. I think at the end of it, you guys are going to get more content from me. It's going to be more consistent. We can cover more of a broad range of topics, often topics which, you know, a lot of people request videos of, but there's not really enough to it for me to make a video about it, because now I'm doing one video essay a month, which is often like super long. You know, it's not just going to be all pop culture. Like, you know, I was thinking about the other day how much I love Ed Sheeran's first album. Like, I was thinking about the other day, because I was listening to Drunk, and I was thinking about how, like, me and Jack have said this before, how Ed Sheeran should tour just his first album. Because the thing is that the kids are not aware of the ancient Ed Sheeran texts. They are not aware of how good his first album is. Ed Sheeran's first album is probably one of the best albums of the 2010s. Like, there is a nearly no skip album. There's definitely a few skips on there. So we've got The A-Team, Drunk, You and I, Wake Me Up, Small Bump, Lego House, You Need Me, I Don't Need You, Tune, Kiss Me, Give Me Love. Like, sorry. What? That's an insane run. Especially, he was really young when he released this album. I'm pretty sure he was like 20 or 21 when he released this album. Insane work. Ed Sheeran Plus is so good that I have almost forgiven him for Galway Girl. Guys, I'm gonna give you, the Brits will know who this person is. I'm gonna give you guys 5 seconds to try and guess who Galway Girl's favorite song is. No, whose favorite song is Galway Girl? Matt Hancock. Like, have you ever seen anything that makes so much sense? Heard anything that makes so much sense that Matt Hancock's favorite song is Galway Girl? And I think that, and it's such a shame, because Ed Sheeran's new music, although I don't think it's terrible, it's nowhere near as good as his old stuff. Again, the kids aren't aware of the ancient Ed Sheeran texts. They've got no idea that he got his come up on SBTV. Like, they've got no idea how good his music used to be. Like now it's sort of just generic pop, and like I wouldn't feel any which way about it unless I hadn't have worked in retail for 3 years. Well, when I was a beautician, which was basically like customer service, I worked in a store in central London when I was beautician, and it was like a flagship store. So it had one of those like CDs that you could like only play, like they wouldn't let us plug our phones in and choose our music. So I would hear Galway Girl was one that I really stuck out to me, and Thinking Out Loud 3 times a day, 5 times a week, 3 times a day, 5 days a week for 3 years. Like that would radicalize any person against Ed Sheeran. And also what baffles me, God, I don't want to seem like I'm slagging Ed off, because I really love Plus. Like Plus is a great album. I don't want it to seem like I'm slagging Ed off, but also like someone's got to pay for Thinking Out Loud. I cannot believe some people choose Thinking Out Loud for their wedding song. And I know this is like something, okay, there's a reason why I'm saying this 20 minutes into the episode, because I'm hoping that this take gets buried in the episode, because the thing is, I think anything to do with a wedding alongside anything to do with a baby, like a baby name, is something that like you just can't really have a hot take on, because obviously it's so personal to people. And my deepest fear is that one of the Voicenotes girlies, which to be fair, I'm gonna guess that not many of you are married, so hopefully this will be fine, but I'm going to guess that one Voicenotes girly at least had Thinking Out Loud as their first dance song. So I would like to say that I am carrying a lot of guilt for voicing this opinion on the internet, but I'm burying it in the episode, hoping that I don't hurt anyone's feelings. And if I do, unfortunately, this is my truth and I have to speak it. I don't understand why people choose a song Thinking Out Loud for their wedding song. I think it is such a mediocre love song. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, and I think it's not like the lyrics are beautiful, right? It's more like the actual song itself. Like, I know that the lyrics are beautiful. It's like the song itself that I just think is so mid. Like, it sounds like a song that was like written for a TV show. Like, do you know what I mean? Not complimentary. Like, there's some very, very good TV show, like exclusive music. Thinking Out Loud would not be one of them. But like, because the thing is that it's not even, because people are going to think, oh, it's just because it's a popular song that you think that. No, because John Legend All of Me is one of the most popular first dance songs of the 2010s. Would I choose it for myself? No. But it's like, I can tell that it's a good song. Like, it's not my, like, you know, it's like a love ballad. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not for me. But it's like a good song. Like, I see the appeal. I do not see the appeal of Thinking Out Loud. I think it's mid. Especially, choosing Thinking Out Loud as your wedding song when that same artist has Give Me Love on their, what's it called? Discography. Oh, insane. To be fair, Give Me Love is like a proper ballad. So maybe you can't really slow dance to it. It would actually be quite intense. But anyways, let's get into today's episode. So in today's episode of Voicenotes, I want to talk about the trinkets epidemic, because I don't know about you guys, but I feel, especially exacerbated through social media, that we are living in a real trinkets era, right? We've got Sunny's Angels, Smiskies, Jellycats, and most recently, I've actually not seen this. Jack told me about this. Labubus. I have no idea what the fuck a Labubu is. I mean, I know now because I've obviously researched. But also, like, we have the rise of bag charms. Essentially, like, we are low-key living in an era of tat. And I'm, like, really fascinated as to why these like trinkets and particularly toys, like cuddly toys, are so popular amongst adults. But before we get into it, I want to share my relationship with trinkets, because obviously if you follow me on YouTube, which you probably do, you know that I have like a lot of vocal opinions about overconsumption, and particularly consumption as a form of distraction. I've shared this take many times before, but I think that we are in an era of, because we're in an era of like mass convenience, we are in an era where like literally everything is at our fingertips. We can essentially buy whatever we want whenever we want, and I think that is actually a distraction from what makes us really happy. And it's not just the shopping, it's like social media as well. I've recently just downloaded an app called One Sec, which is an app where when you click on your social media app, it shortcuts you to the One Sec app, and it would like gives you a second to like breathe, and then it says, do you still want to go into Instagram or do you want to click off? Because I don't know about you guys, but I automatically click on Instagram and TikTok all the time without even thinking of it. I'm a social media addict and I'm trying to break my habits, and I've only had this for a day and it definitely is working. But it is, basically I'm trying to get back onto it. I have a lot of feelings about overconsumption as a form of distraction, but also I know that a lot of people are probably going to be listening to this episode thinking that I'm going to be like, it's all tat, it's all crap, like you don't need this, it doesn't serve you. Incorrect. So you're looking at a very plain part of my room right now, but I love a good bit of not tat. And I do like tat, but I like a bit of physical media. I don't think that everything you own in your life needs to have like a true utilitarian purpose. Like, I think that some things can exist in our lives just for aesthetic purposes. So I am not anti-trinket. I'm not anti-collecting as well, because I know that collecting plays a very big role in this. I'm not anti-owning stuff. Like, my room is quite maximalist. I've got a lot of stuff everywhere. I've got a lot of tat. And one thing about me, guys, is I have dabbled in a smisky or two. So I can't be bothered to unstick my smisky from my candle. But would I describe myself as a smisky collector? No, because I don't lose sleep over the new collections. But I do love a good smisky. I am a smisky stan. The way that I discovered smiskies was through my friend Ruby's TikTok. This actually before me and Ruby were friends. She posted a TikTok looking for Sunny's Angels, but she ended up getting smiskies. And I just felt connected to smiskies in a way. Like, I was like, this shit is so cute. Like, no other reason, no like emotional reason other than this is cute as fuck. And I love the blind box of it all. So if you want to know sort of, and also I have jelly cats. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am not anti-trinket. I'm not anti-collecting things. But also I think we're living in an era where why are so many grown adults buying toys? And I'm someone who is dabbling in that a little bit. Why? And it's not just grown adults buying toys. It's like Jellycat markets itself towards adults. And I find that so fascinating that such a profitable business model is targeting children's toys to adults. So if we just run through the sort of current popular collectibles on social media, we've got Sunny's Angels and Smiskies, which are both blind boxes by a company called Dreaming. So blind boxes in the name, basically you don't know what you're going to get, but often they have different collections. So Smisky, they've got like a toilet collection, they've got yoga, they've got work, they've got moving. Annoyingly, I actually ordered a Smisky to unbox for this episode, but it hasn't arrived in time. Oh no, I've just business expense a Smisky for no reason. And then Labubus are also mystery boxes, but they're bag charms. And I want to make it clear that I know I have no leg to stand on as someone who has an not extensive, but I've got a pretty decent collection of Smiskies going on, and I've got some jelly cats. I think that Labubus are hideous. I don't get it. I'm sorry, but also like beauty is the beauty is the eye of the beholder. So, I do think Labubus are hideous, but I think something which ties together the Sunny's Angels and the Smiskies and the Labubus is the surprise element. Like, I think that's what people really, really like. Now, jelly cats is something that I've been having some very polarizing feelings and emotions about. I'm so interested to talk about this and like what you guys' thoughts on jelly cats are, because jelly cats as a concept, I think it's sweet, right? Like, it's like cuddly toys, but they like turn everyday objects into something really cute. And I think that like I think a lot of people I know have like a small collection of jelly cats, and you can like tell a lot about someone by their collection of jelly cats. Also, jelly cats make great gifts because it's so easy to like personalize it. So for Secret Santa, which I uploaded, I uploaded me gifting Jack, but on Jack's second channel, he uploaded him gifting me his stuff. He got me an orange jelly cat because I love the orange by Wendy Cope. Cute. I think you can tell a lot about someone by their little small collection of jelly cats. But I have recently been trying to get into the way that Jellycats are manufactured, because it's quite blurry. So Jellycats are designed in the UK, but they're manufactured in China. There's a lot of murkiness about how Jellycats are produced. They have a couple of like anti-slavery acts on their website, but one of them did say that they can't guarantee that the materials that they use were made without slave labor. And there is a Jellycat factory in Indonesia where the average garment worker is paid $185 a month. I think it's like difficult when you're talking about factories overseas and particularly in the global south, because I never want to imply that all factories in the global south are inherently sweatshops, right? But if I just apply my knowledge of, ethical clothing brands to this whole scenario, there is a reason why small brands who very loudly, proudly say their clothes are ethically produced will always emphasize that their clothes are made in the UK or made in London. And that's because not only can they keep better track of the factory and how everything's being produced and making sure that it's all ethically produced and everyone's paid fairly and the working conditions are safe, but also there's like a lower carbon footprint because you're not shipping the clothing overseas. This does not mean that factories in the UK are inherently ethical, because obviously there was the whole Boohoo factory scandal in Leicester, where one of the Boohoo Group factories, which Boohoo Group owns like Pretty Little Thing, were found that one of their factories in Leicester, they were paying their garment workers £3.50 an hour. So it's not like a guaranteed thing, but there is a reason why so many ethical clothing companies and brands will produce their clothes in the UK, because it's easier to monitor these factories and keep an eye on them. There's a lot of laws and anti-slavery acts in this country, meaning that it's a lot harder to exploit someone in a factory in the UK than it is in a factory in the global south, which is why there are so many sweatshops in the global south and there's very few sweatshops in the UK. And when there is, it gets busted, like the one in Leicester, and people go down for it. Now, I don't know what the factory conditions of the factories where Jellycats are produced are like, but what I do know is for the price point of Jellycats, I do think that Jellycats should be produced in the UK, not only just so Jellycat as a business can keep track of the working conditions in their factories, but also it reduces their carbon footprint because they're not having to ship their produce their goods overseas. Also, it's not just this. My friend and influencer Keelan Moncrief she actually said this on her close friend story at first, and then she went public with it. She went public with the slamming, rightly so. So she was invited to a Jellycat event and she asked if she could bring her, I always say her baby, but like her baby is not baby anymore, but I'm always like, oh, that's Keelan's baby. But she asked to bring her infant daughter to the event, and Jellycat said no, that basically essentially the event did not accommodate for children, which is so silly because it's literally an event for cuddly toys. I understand that not everything is going to be an environment for children. Environments that involve alcohol, I understand that not all influencer events can accommodate children, like for example nightlife events if there's events involving alcohol, but an event which is literally advertising cuddly toys, that's insane. That is actually insane. And it really opened my eyes to the fact that Jellycat as a brand, the price point, they are actually marketing themselves towards adults. And, I think there's, at the moment, when it comes to trinkets, not only is there this aspect of like connecting with our inner child, I think a lot of young people are resorting to connecting with their inner child because we are on hard economic times. We're not hitting the same life steps or goals as our parents. Often we're probably like a lot of young people I know feel quite stunted because they aren't getting a job that they want. They're still living at home. It's not easy. And I think something as simple as like buying a Jellycat and connecting with your inner child in that way is very comforting. And it's quite crazy that the connecting with the inner child has been capitalized on so much by Jellycat, and it's worked. I'm not buying any more Jellycats, considering I have no idea how they're produced, and they also would not allow a baby at their event. Like, that's actually insane. But it's not just connecting with our inner child. I think the reason why we love trinkets so much is similar to why sort of low-level consumer spending is so high amongst young people. So I'm touching my microphone. And that is sweet treat culture and the lipstick effect. So if you haven't heard of what the lipstick effect is, I think it was Clinique reported that after 9/11 there was actually an uptick in their lipstick sales, and essentially it's the argument that consumer spending increases during times of economic and political hardship because people want to, in essence, distract themselves. I think that after 9/11 consumer spending was actually really emphasized as a way to support the American economy. Shopping was actually seen as a now patriotic act, which is actually insane to think about. But also, lipstick effect goes hand in hand with sweet treat culture, where not only during times of political and economic hardship do people do more low-level consumer spending, but, of my generation, we are one of the first generations who we will probably never be able to get on the property market. We won't be able to hit these life goals. A lot of people will not be able to afford to have children. Or be able to live in the areas in which they grew up. And we're one of the first generations that has happened to. And in turn, I think sort of people are a little bit like, oh, well, you know what? I am going to fucking buy this lipstick. I am going to shop at Space NK. I am going to buy my Jellycat or my £10 blind box, Saving for property is so out of everyone's limit that I think a lot of people are now just like, you know what? I'm not going to suffer for the chance to probably not get on the property market anyway. But something else I'm really interested to explore in this episode is social media's impact on trinket culture. Trinket culture is so stupid. Oh my God. Trinket culture and also collecting. We are in an era of unprecedented exposure. We were already in an era of exposure when YouTube and Instagram were sort of the main social media apps, but with the inception of TikTok and the fact that Twitter has now changed their following feed to a For You feed, an algorithmic feed, exposure is so much higher that now collecting is no longer a niche thing. Like the way that I discovered Smiskies was through my friend Ruby's TikTok, and I'm pretty sure that TikTok got like a decent few thousand likes. So that's how a lot of people are discovering collectibles, and so it's no longer really a niche thing, and it's becoming a bit more mainstream. And I'm really interested to know how people who collected Sunny's Angels before they blew up on social media, how they feel about that, right? Like, do you guys think that it's like ethical to gatekeep something that you really like? No, like I'm literally like that. Like there's this one beauty product that I use that I love, and I've been using it since I was 18, and I like refuse to share it because and again, I'm acting like I'm like a big deal. I'm literally not. But like, let's say I just made a TikTok about it. I'm so worried about it going viral and selling out that like I will gatekeep this until the day I die. But it's not just social media's impact on making something mainstream which was previously niche. But also, when I think of trinkets, I think of like bits and bobs that are collected over time, right? I think of like a living room full of grandma's trinkets, which she got from all these different countries and all these different decades and eras of her life. That's what I think of when I think of trinkets. But I'm really interested in like the place of trinkets in the age of convenience culture. Do trinkets quite have the same charm if you've ordered them all online? And this is coming from someone who, guys, I order my Smiskies online. It reminds me again of this Substack essay I read, Your Phone Is Why You Don't Feel Sexy by Catherine Shannon, where she basically spoke about the unsexiness of phones, everyone constantly being available. She talks a little bit about convenience culture. And I think that it's sort of the same impact with trinkets, where it's like, it doesn't have the same charm when you order it online, because it's like you didn't go to the place, you didn't come across it, you didn't stumble across it, you didn't find it, there's no story attached to something when you order something online. Like they're actually, now that this is the first time I've like vocalized that, and it's so true. There is like no charm to ordering something online. There's no story. Like it's literally like you saw it on your phone, you ordered it, you had to wait a couple of days and then it arrived and that's it. Like when you actually find something in a store, or like when me and Jack did our Secret Santa, he found that rave posters booklet for me, and he said he was like, oh, I found it in Berlin and like I knew that you'd love it and that's why I picked it up. And that just doesn't really happen with things that you order on the internet. Like, and the thing is, I don't think, it's not like I don't think that valuable, consuming can be done only in person. I have like a stacked subscription, which is like £8 a month, and it's a subscription. You get independent magazines sent to you every month. I actually just fixed a magazine rack onto my wall. It's very, very chic. But you know, even then, like as unique as these magazines are and as much as I love them, it's like there's no story attached to them, you know? It's just, oh, I get it on my stacked subscription. To be fair, I love telling people about my stacked subscription. I'm going to keep it real. And, you know, if we just stay on the topic of like trinkets as social media trends, something I've noticed which absolutely breaks my heart is people mass buying popular trinkets or collectibles to make social media content and then selling them online. No! Like, that's not what it's about. You know, I think that reselling trinkets and collectibles, like as in like mass buying them and reselling them, is landlord behavior. Like, I'm so sorry. But yeah, no, it's like, you know, don't just buy the trinket because it's a social media trend. And look, if you discovered it because it was a social media trend and you like it, fair fucks. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, go ahead. But like, I think if you're gonna like mass buy trinkets just for the sake of making content and then not even like keep any of them or just fob them all off, no, that's not what it's about. It's so stupid. This is such like a first world problem, isn't it? And in a way, I think this is like one of the many defenses of people gatekeeping trinkets, where it's like, you know, I understand why people want to gatekeep because there are people who don't have the best intentions. And it's not just that though. I think there's like, I'm honestly low-key such a defender of gatekeeping. And what I mean by that is I think that when you don't gatekeep something, and when, you know, the thing is, I tell people where my clothes are from all the time, but I think that there's like a value in like, you know, let's say you see someone with a really nice black leather bag and then you really want to know where it's from. They go, oh, it's secondhand. And you go, oh, but what's the brand? It's a black leather handbag. You could find so many black leather handbags that look the same, that the similar or the same. And not just that, but you could probably find one that you like even more than that bag. And then it's like, you've got a unique bag. This is why I adore vintage fashion so much, because everything is so unique. Like, these trousers are secondhand next. I actually got them tailored because they were massive. I've got such a low crotch on them, like I'm literally sagging. But but you know, like, I absolutely love these trousers, and what I love about them is I haven't seen anyone else wearing them, so I never get sick of them. Do you know, this top is not secondhand. This is my friend Susie's design, Susie and Viviwei design. I love, this is like my go-to spring top. I absolutely love it. See, the thing is, I'm not anti-gatekeeping, but like when it comes to vintage fashion, like, don't ask for the brand. Like, just like, you could find some, especially if it's something like very simple, like a black leather bag. If it's something which is like a bit unique, then I get it. But I don't know, maybe I'm being a diva. But you know, I definitely think that we can link like social media's impact on trinkets to the bag charms trend. The Jane Birkenifying your bag trend on TikTok actually made my brain melt out of my ears. And I worry that I'm going to sound really patronizing when I say this. And I am very, very sorry in advance. But the whole point of like the, you know, beat up Birkins is that they are Birkins which have lived 1 million lives. And it's similar to like the eclectic grandpa aesthetic, where it's like, this is not something that you can recreate in the space of a week. You know, your grandpa looks like your grandpa because he's been wearing clothes on his back that he's been wearing for the past 30 years. Like, and that's why he looks like an eclectic grandpa. You don't look like an eclectic grandpa. You're wearing Ganni, you know? I think that personal style discourse is a different topic for a different day, but I definitely think there is something to say about like this era of convenience culture, and the fact that people can't just wait for things to be lived in. They have to make it look lived in because people don't own their shit for long enough. And I think that the bag charms trend of people like stacking those, like, again, I'm not anti-bag charm. I love a good bag charm. But I think there's something about like, if you're mass buying bag charms in the space of a week, the charm, no pun intended, of a little collection of bag charms is that often, you know, if they're like keychains, they're like, oh, I got this when I was in Mexico, and oh, I got this when I was in, you know, South Africa. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you collect these little bits and bobs everywhere, and like then you sort of have a story to tell. You know, if you have a bag full of bag charms and you're just like, oh, you know, I got these all off Temu, what sort of story is that? A boring one. But but you know, it reminds me a lot of I'm currently writing a video about tattoos and social media's impact on tattoo culture. And Leanne, researcher Leanne, found this Substack. It's called Tattoos Are the Bag Charms for Your Body by Alex Sujong Laughlin. And she mentions this concept called rapid identity acquisition, which in the name is essentially when you acquire your identity super quickly by buying lots of things instead of just letting it build naturally. I'm going to read a couple of quotes. It's a similar impulse that is driving the bag charm trend. Inspired by the way Jane Birkin beat up and adorned her bags, I think it's appealing because it signifies a life lived, preferences acquired, and the confidence that comes from knowing who you are. When girls buy bag charm packs on Amazon, they approximate the look, but it never quite feels right. It's so obvious all the charms were bought in a spree and it feels shallow and wasteful. I think people are drawn to the charms, but what they're really drawn to is the patina of the whole thing, and that can't be faked. As much as you try, and people are trying, what we're attracted to isn't the charms, but what the charms symbolize: a life lived, an identity refined. You can call me old-fashioned, but I don't think that's something you can buy in one day. It's something you can only acquire with time and intention. Like, essentially anything which ends up being like mass produced on a really large scale usually kills a trend like before it's even come up. I think that's what was so unappealing about like excessive bag charms, was knowing that everyone was just buying them from like Temu and Shein and Amazon and AliExpress. You know, like, just let it build up over time. Let it breathe, girls. Let it breathe. But I guess, you know, with convenience culture, we're so used to instant gratification that like we actually do not know what it's like to not have instant gratification in our lives. That when we think, oh, I want a bag charm, we don't think, oh, you know what, I'm going to wait until I find one that I like. We go, oh, I'm going to buy like a pack of 5. I think it's really interesting where it's like with collecting and trinkets, where do we draw the line between overconsumption and collecting, right? Because I actually, like I've said earlier, I think that there's value in collecting things, and I think that not every purchase needs to be functional. I think that some purchases can be purely aesthetic, and that is fine. As I've mentioned so many times on my channel, I think that the overconsumption argument is very, very closely tied to our satisfaction with our purchases. And my argument basically is that if you are always wanting more, you have a shopping addiction, therefore you're probably overconsuming. Overconsuming as an individual is a little bit more of like murky territory, but the way that I define it is that if you are constantly buying things, if there's constantly parcels at your door, yet you feel like you're not satisfied, you feel like you always need more, you feel like you have nothing to wear, then you're probably overconsuming and you have a shopping addiction. It's filling the void with plastic. And we can link this back to sweet treat culture and the fact that so many people, myself included, buy, you know, these little things, buy the makeup and the clothes because they know that they will not be able to hit the same life milestones that their parents did. We live in an incredibly unstable and honestly hopeless economy. I think that's what really gets me and all my friends, is the fact that it just feels so hopeless. The fact that it's like we've all said to each other, it's never ever going to get better in our lifetime. Like, and that's like so depressing. Like, that's such a depressing thought. But also it's like, you know, again, obviously not against buying a good trinket, love a good trinket, but I guess we need to sort of realize when we're filling the void with plastic and when we are actually spending money on buying, you know, crap, instead of spending money on, you know, going to see our friends at the pub or going on a night out, or, you know, going on, again, a holiday is obviously quite expensive, but like, you know, basically my whole argument is that would never, ever, ever buy a product over an experience. And when I say experience, it makes it sound like I'm telling you guys to go fucking skydiving, but no, like, you know, I would always prioritize going out for dinner, going for drinks, meeting up with friends, than you know, sitting online and scrolling and shopping. But yes, no, my conclusions are that I love a good trinket, but I do think that social media has really done a number on not just trinkets, but like collectibles in general. And, you know, I think these mass-produced trinkets and these mass-produced bag charms is actually what's made the whole thing feel really soulless. You know, it's like the Substack essay said, you know, people like what trinkets and bag charms symbolize. It symbolizes a life lived, but we live in an era of convenience culture where like no one needs to live their life. We can just look like we're living our lives. And what satisfaction do we get out of that in the long term, really? But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Voice Notes. It was so fun being back. And leave your requests as usual. I've got such a long list of podcast episodes. You wouldn't believe it. I've got podcast episodes coming up my ears. But yes, I'll see you soon for another video. Bye.